Juan Peña doesn't sell a story. He pours it neat. Prolijo Mezcal from the Smoky Hills of Oaxaca. Tierra y Libertad tequila from the fields that just don't compromise. No shortcuts, no additives, just raw agave turned into something untouchable. On this episode of Tactical Tequila Podcast with your host, Matt Wilson. If you enjoy the show, hit the like button, subscribe, and share it to your social media platforms. Thanks for tuning in and enjoy the show. Welcome back, everyone. Matt with Tactical Tequila Podcast here. Tonight we have a great show planned for you. Juan Peña is on the show, and some brands talk about heritage. Juan Peña lives it. From the smoky heart of Oaxaca with Prolijo Mezcal to the uncompromising spirit of Tierra y Libertad tequila, he refuses shortcuts and rejects artificial gloss. His bottles carry sweat, soil, and stories you can taste. Built on truth, no tricks. This isn't polished marketing. It's raw agave, stripped down and unapologetic. Legacy collides with rebellion, and authenticity stands unshaken. Juan, welcome to the show. I appreciate your time and welcome.
Matt, thank you so much. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you for your time to listening to part of our story as a brand. Also, hopefully, you get to know me better. Get to know about what we're trying to do, what we're doing. Actually, we're not trying; we're already doing it, and where we're heading, and most importantly, where we come from. My mom, my family in Mexico, they're indigenous of the land. And my grandma always told me that she said, you want to know where you will be going in life, you need to know where you come from. And every time it just hits and hits and hits. And that is something that I keep very close to my heart. And that translates into everything that we do. But thank you so much for having us, Matt.
You're welcome. And, just getting into things and talking about your grandma and your upbringing, what's one lesson from your childhood in Mexico City that still shapes you in how you run Prolijo today?
Thank you for the question. This is awesome. Growing up in Mexico City, we didn't grow up in the richest or nicest neighborhood. We grew up in a neighborhood called Tepito, Tipito, and it's a neighborhood where people sell stuff on the street. You can find from a needle all the way to a house if you like, and it was something, growing there, it really allowed me to understand really how to tell the stories. That was one of my main takes away from there, and I think it allowed me to be able just to talk to people. I used to be shy, younger, and that really allowed me to be able to talk to people and tell my story the way that I wanted or the way it was. But I think that's the takeaway to being able to learn how to talk to people, which is huge for me.
And, you would never tell that about you. Having met you first in, I think it was Chicago is when we first met. And then we saw each other again in LA. And, I think you're just a great people person. So you never would have thought that you would have been this shy kid growing up.
Yeah. I used to be introvert. And I just mind my own business. Didn't talk to a lot of people, but really growing up in that neighborhood is really, because it's a lot of people. It used to be in one point Mexico City, one of the largest. I think it still is one of the largest cities in the world. And right in the neighborhood that I'm from, that is just basically like Japan. Everybody lives on top of everybody, and it's a good thing. And I really enjoyed it, and part of it makes me proud. Where I come from, even that neighborhood.
Now, in talking about Tierra y Libertad, that basically translates into land and liberty. How do those words actually show up in the bottle?
Hmm. Actually, it may not show. Well, actually, no, it does. Actually, this project, this brand, really wasn't a coincidence. For the longest time, and this is just my personal opinion. Um, I stopped being a tequila drinker quite a few years ago. Why? Because I'm talking like 15 years ago, you open one bottle of tequila, another bottle of tequila, and the difference was it tastes like tequila, but it really didn't. You couldn't really tell, like, oh, this is it tastes, it smells like this and like that, and and so on, right? It was just, no, it does taste like tequila, but really nothing that separated the brand from each other. This is again my own opinion. And in the world of mezcal, well, because first and foremost, we are a mezcal brand. Really, that's our roots. And so the way that it is translated, Tierra, Libertad, land and liberty, inside the bottle is basically allowing people to taste, from this artisanal point of view, to taste the agave, to smell the terroir, to taste the terroir, the minerals where the agave grew. For us, agriculture is the main thing. You could be the best distiller out there, but if you don't have raw materials, I used to work in the restaurant industry, and I met so many great chefs out there, and they will always tell me, and not only the chef, but also my grandma, my mom, my aunts, if you don't have the right raw materials, you're just going to end up adding more sugar or more salt, or it's not going to be true to what is supposed to be. And so the project of Land and Liberty, Tierra and Libertad, really translates into the consumer to be able to go beyond just saying, oh, it is tequila. But now you start tasting the notes of the terroir, you start tasting the agave cooked, you start smelling some of the fermentation process and so on. And I think it's almost like taking you to a journey. And in fact, the way that I decided to go about this thing is about, free your palate, taste the agave. And so that's how it translates into the into the project, into the bottle, not only with the 45 ABV, but also with the 55 ABV, which is a different animal of its own.
Yeah, and honestly, I love both. I love what you're doing there. And kind of switching back to the mezcal side of things, when you think Prolijo 5 generations from now, what is it that you hope hasn't changed?
The purity and how we go about the development of the production of the mezcal. We don't believe in utilizing. In fact, it wasn't into the world of what Tierra Libertad lives in. Is that I started hearing about diffusers, activated charcoal, um, and so basically, when you open a bottle of Prolijo mezcal, it is so raw, really so raw that, for example, our mission as a company is to produce Mexican distills with cultural conscience. And so it has to have both. It cannot just be, well, it is cultural, or, but it has the conscience. No, it has to be the two of them. And so for us, and our goal is quite simple. We want our consumers to taste and smell where the plant grew, and the properties of the agave plant and the terroir. And the in the mezcal, some people say, well, it smells like flowers, it smells green, it smells earthy. And that really what it is all depending how high the agave plant grew. So if it wasn't a lower, still we're talking about above 6,000 feet above sea level, but when it grows like in the lower level of that altitude, there is going to be a lot of flowers. So that agave, independently of being Madre Cuiche, Tepestate, Roqueño, Cereal, you name it, is going to have a floral aroma to it because it retains aromas from the leaves. And so if it is a little bit higher, then there are going to be cactuses, right? A little more hardier. And so it's going to start smelling greener, the agave plant. And when it is super high, where there is hardly any vegetation, it's going to be a little bit more earthy, the plant. And so for us, we really want people to enjoy, where we want people to be like, oh, without me saying anything, the plant grew in a floral area, or it was a mix of floral and green, or it was a mix of green and earthiness. I can tell you the story of the brand, but truly, the one that is gonna the only one who can tell you the story is gonna be the plant himself. And so that's really what we hope to achieve, and that's really what we hope it never changes. Because we have tobalas from different regions, and it tastes and it smells one way. The one that we have today, the latest batch, is the aroma is like a green apple. It is delicious, and it tastes like apples. And it's not because it is an apple in there. It's just it grew like somewhere between the plants and the cactuses. So it had like that greenery and sweetness at the same time. So it generates that aroma. So we really hope that then people continue to produce the mezcal the way that we're doing today with cultural conscience.
Would you say that your work in mezcal and, of course, tequila would be more preservation, or is it rebellion?
I think it's a little bit of both. As I was talking with friends from the industry, in the mezcal world, producers themselves with 5-6 generations, and also in the tequila world, there is one word that is missing, and either or, and is producing, whether it is mezcal or tequila, with curiosity. And the world of tequila, there is always the same, like we're always trying to perfect our techniques. So each batch, they're still trying to like perfection their techniques because they're never done. And I think that curiosity is what allows us to like really penetrate different techniques, because there is not just one way of making mezcal, just the same way that there is not one way of making tequila. And I think that what we do is that we're trying to bring the old techniques and the old, how would I say this? We believe in tradition, techniques, and also utilizing amazing raw materials. And then from there, as somebody who's going to distill tequila or mezcal, they know what they're doing, right? But also the rebellion comes into it because sometimes we do things that we don't ask questions. We don't ask permission. We just get it done. And I think that is something that the makes us unique. For example, Tierra and Libertad, the lowest proof that brand is going to carry is 45 ABV. Everything else is going to be between 45 and maybe higher than 55. So why? Not because we're just thinking, oh, let's do 55 ABV. No, it's because we're tasting, we're working with producers. They are always doing something that we're tasting, and we're always in constant communications, researching what it used to be. Because we're talking about 400 years ago when tequila was introduced into the market. They didn't know what was the ABV. There was no way they can say like, well, they saw the pearls. Well, that's one way to try it, and it is. I'm sure it was delicious, and it still is delicious. But there was not really a way to say, okay, this is the alcohol volume in there. Nobody knew. Same thing in the mezcal. Nobody knew. What they knew is that it tastes delicious. And I think that's something that for me, we're always trying to find, and we will always try to find new producers that you never know. It's like they're really passionate about what they do. They have the distillery condition to do artisanal tequila. And then from there, let's work into different techniques and see how it goes.
Now, talking about the process, what hidden truths would someone find if they followed the smoke of the mezcal ovens?
Hidden truth. Honestly, that is only going to be by brand or by the person who owns a brand. Because I got to tell you, Matt, there is no hidden truth in there. There is everything is in the open. Nobody really can say, well, what's your technique? If I tell you what's the secret to make lemonade? You'll be like, lemons, sugar, or honey, whichever you want to use. But I think that that's something that we tend to polarize in some points. And I think that there are no secrets. Water is, yes, water does matter, whether it comes from a spring, well, the terroir has a lot to do, the agave, and quite frankly, some of the techniques. But it is, in the world of mezcal, I can tell you that we refer to it like it is, everything is magical. Not magic, magical. And not in the whimsical way. It's just that it is mesmerizing that somebody found some agaves, however they distill it, they were able to come out with mezcal. And now we get to enjoy it in different plants. And what makes it even more beautiful is that Mexico contains some of the largest, if not the largest, varieties of agaves. So we're pretty lucky when it comes to that too.
Yeah, for sure. What's one step in the process, both in mezcal and tequila production, that you're never going to shortcut in either process?
Quality is just something that we will never compromise. Whether it's somebody says, well, if you'll be able to sell more, it is quality. And I guess I take it back to like a tactical question, right? It's like you have this bulletproof that is going to protect you, and you have this plastic one is going to be cheaper. You're like, no, I'm always going to use the one that is going to protect me. And not that I'm looking for protection, but I think the quality is just the base of a brand. You can have a beautiful bottle, you can have a beautiful name, a story does matter, but at the end of the day, people are going to drink what's inside. And I think that you know, it is the most important thing, the quality, because you take it from the raw materials, they have to have quality. The production methods, they have to have quality at the same time. The distill, everything has to do with quality. And really, going back to one of your first questions, don't compromise and don't, cut corners. It's like so much work to, in the final steps, becoming or being lazy. Like you walked that far, like you ran that marathon, and the last 2 miles you like started to walk it. It's like, just keep going.
I love that analogy. And given to what we've talked about now, we've talked a little bit about agave. We've talked about the process, but which wild agave do you think has the hardest soul to tame, and why?
Oh my God. I will say that probably it will go down to preference of each individual and the palate. But I can tell you um, and every agave is different by himself. But for example, the one that I respect and love a lot, and I do the same thing with equally, right? Tempestate agave is a plant that can weigh as much as 1,200 pounds, and it takes between 25 to 35 years to mature. Now, it's not that, it varies. I'm just giving like a parameter. It takes this much to this much. It could, people are going to be saying perhaps, nope, the tempestate we used last time, it was only 100 pounds. It's just because it's Mother Nature. Agaves are like humans. We're not all the same when it comes to body frame, height. Some of us mature earlier, some of us mature later in life. And it's just the way it is. And I refer a lot to that, to the agave plant being almost like a human, because we have several similarities when it comes to that: maturing, height, weight, and even, the way that they produce the fine sugars. When agaves are in, in the stress, extremely amount of stress, they start producing more fine sugars, which is almost like what happens. Maybe I'm wrong on this one, but like when we don't have breakfast in the morning, they right, like we start getting to the sugar rush, and we start getting into producing more sugars internally, I guess. Maybe I'm wrong on that one. I don't know, but the agave plant is similar to the way that we behave as humans at the same time, and I guess I like to think of them like that, just because they spend so long on Earth, growing, crushing minerals, retaining little amount of water, and if they could talk, can you imagine being sitting there for 35 years?
So now when it comes to agaves that, it takes that long to mature, what are you looking at in batch size for something like that?
Well, it varies, right? Because even though you may have like something big, thinking, oh, if my espadins, this is my batch per amount, is going to give me X amount of liters for X amount of kilos. With some of the wild agaves, it varies the same way, right? Like a 1,200 pounds could give you somewhere like 30 to 50 bottles. So it doesn't give you much. I'm going to show you the size of the tempestate, because this is actually quite cool. Victoria, which is one of the producers, is in a picture on social media, and that is the Tepestate, man.
Wow. That is a huge agave.
That is a massive agave. And so, everything varies. I usually don't like to tell. That's what I go from 25 to 35, somewhere like around 1,200 pounds, because to say it takes exactly this, I will be lying to you. I will be lying to you if I tell you like X amount of time, because we don't control Mother Nature. Mother Nature control us.
Right. 100%. So, in all of this, where do you more or less draw the line between tradition and innovation?
Oh, I think the two of them have a reason for being, right? Tradition is what we know. It was like our anchor point. And innovation has also its place, but is either to facilitate carrying the agave to the distillery. You're not using donkeys or mules anymore. You're not putting them on your back and carrying them, right? So I think for me, innovation has to have its right place. But if it starts, and this is just my personal opinion, because I'm very rooted into, for example, we use agave yeast produced in the distilleries, and that's the way we like it. Um, and so I think that if you start like mixing other things just because they may sound funky, is it 100% tequila? Is it right? Like, I don't know, like where do we start crossing the lines? Right. It's like, and I don't know how to explain that one, but for me, because there are different types of innovations. You're talking about technology, you're talking about way of distilling. I will stay probably with tradition, and innovation when it has its place is just to make the human life easier, not to make the product taste better. Because we're tasting the plant. We're supposed to taste the plant. My opinion. There are people that think different, and that's good that they think different because there is a market for everybody. And otherwise, we'll end up into the same situation that I was telling you earlier. I open 5 bottles of tequila, different brands, they all taste like tequila. And I think that's a good thing to have innovations in certain areas. I happen to not jump into those types of innovations to make the product taste different. And I'm not talking about additives. That's I just want to make clear of
That's a
that.
whole other ball game right there.
That's a different thing. Yes. Yes.
Talking about the process and everything, has there ever been a batch that you've scrapped because it didn't live up to your internal standard? And what did that moment teach you?
It was painful. It was painful. We the pechuga with mole negro, which we call Day of the Dead, because it is still, the base is going to be agave espadín, and it gets distilled 2-3 days before Day of the Dead. And then after Day of the Dead, there is going to be a second distillation. What's going to happen is the fruits, the wort on the altars are going to be taken and placed inside of the alambic. They're going to add mole or spices to make mole negro, but it's not the cream. It's just the cacao, the cinnamon, the dry peppers, those kind of spices. And in addition, in a cheesecloth, they're going to place in there 2 raw chicken breasts, as well as a rack of chicken with the heart, with the liver, and all the insides. They're going to wrap it really tight so nothing falls down. and they're going to hang it on top of the alembic inside. And so the heat is going to dehydrate that meat. The juice is going to fall down, and then out goes through the second distillation. And the cool part about it is that the producers, because they're indigenous, they speak Zapotec. They don't even speak Spanish. They believe that their ancestors who came to visit them during Day of the Dead are inside of those bottles of the pechuga. So that is very special. So we did a run. Now the alembics are 450 liters. And just like anything, it came out wrong. So 450 liters had to become 1-2 earth.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happens. It happens. And, but, you know, and I think that's taught us a very good lesson. You know, but it's going to happen all the time. Remember, I don't know if you heard the saying that a producer, they don't make mistakes. They just create a new profile.
I have heard that, yes.
Yes. And it happens. It can happen. Again, going back to, we don't manipulate Mother Nature. Mother Nature is the one who runs everything. And that's really what I keep coming back to.
So here's a interesting question for you. When you stick Prolijo and Tierra y Libertad tequila next to each other and they sit side by side, what argument are they having?
Dad, how are you? Because as you know, tequila is a type of mezcal. And so really, mezcal is the father of tequila. So there is no, I don't think there is, at least in my world, right? There's a Tierra, Libertad, and Prolijo. I don't think there is argument. I think it's more about, for example, Tierra, Libertad. This Tierra, Libertad that you have, it tastes earthy. It tastes green. It tastes part of the agave. You can taste a little bit of the fermentation, or the smell, excuse me. And now it's not as elevated as what a mezcal will be, because it is a different type of plant. And so I don't think there is an argument. I think it's just more like being part of the ecosystem, because Tierra Libertad was designed to be mezcal like tequila, if you will. It had that purpose. It was really never to say that is tequila and we're going to make it the old traditional way, the way that we all known and grow with it. But rather, it was more like, I want Tierra Libertad to have to have similarities to what a mezcal is. Because again, it's a type of mezcal. And I think that's is no argument. It's more about exchanging ideas.
And in talking about exchanging ideas, if they're not arguing, if let's say mezcal is chaos and tequila is discipline, which one would reflect you more as a person? Now, I know you don't drink tequila anymore and it's mezcal, but
oh no, I do with Tierra Libertad and Prolijo tequila. now I do. Now I have choices. Sorry.
Which one reflects you more as a person? Would it be the side of mezcal or would it be the side of tequila?
I think it's more of the side of mezcal. Honestly, okay. It's I don't like to wear suits. Jeans, Converse, T-shirt. I don't my wife's like, we're going to go to a wedding. I'm like, I don't want to wear shoes. I don't want to wear dress pants. I just like to be free. And the same thing that we do with the mezcal, we let the plant go free. We allow all the waxes from the agave to go into the bottle, to tell that story. Because who am I to tell the story of the agave? I'm really nobody. But I think I'm more on the loose portion of it. It's still following rules. It's still following, but it's more of a point of view rules into doing the right things versus let's cut the corners or let's make more money.
Yeah. As you mentioned, doing the right thing, which do you feel has more risk of being corrupted by commercialization, mezcal or tequila?
Both.
How
And
so?
I'm going to tell you why. Because there is it's a good thing that corporations are part of the industry because they're able to have a much larger reach than I will. But by the same token, it's like business, right? Increase profit, decrease labor. And it's just, once you get into that rule, so many things happen. Inevitable. It really is inevitable because you go from a team of 20 people to a team of 2,000 people. Now you have 2,000 mouths to feed. And so you got to, now you, instead of bringing hundreds of thousands of dollars or a few millions of dollars, now you need to bring hundreds of millions of dollars in. And it's just basic economics. So, and then for the two of them, run the risk to any type of a spirit has the risk to go through that. It's inevitable.
Now, if you had to sacrifice one forever, mezcal, tequila, which one are you going to defend until your last breath?
Mezcal.
And why?
Because I got choices in the world of mezcal. I do. There are about over 50 types of agave species out there, and one of them including the tequiliana. So we got choices. And look, honestly, I don't say that loosely. Like I can get rid of Tierra or Prolijo tequila tomorrow. It's not like that. Is the fact that we made them taste differently than the norm. And I feel in a way that we are changing the way that people perceive tequilas. Because again, if I go and do the same tequila as other brands, going to be like, oh, the difference is, oh, I like this label better, or I like the bottle better. Yeah, or, it's going to be $5 cheaper or $5 more expensive. But then really what's going to set us apart is a brand. And again, we're not doing things different just for the sake of doing them different. We really are going back to the roots and really understanding, researching what it was and try to manifest every single time. For example, on the Prolijo tequila, batch 1 is different from batch 2. And I love that one. And I feel that when you, for example, Prolijo tequila and Tierra Libertad, completely two different processes. But Prolijo tequila is much closer to the Mezcal world than Tierra Libertad. Tierra Libertad, similarities is beautiful. It is great, but Prolijo is stone clay brick ovens, 100% Tahona, open fermentation with wild agave yeast, spring water, distilled twice in a stainless steel with copper coils, similar to Mezcal. The only thing that we're missing in there is the in-ground pit. For everything else, it is very similar to the Mezcal. Tierra Libertad, a stone brick oven. We don't use Tahona. It is milling because Agave Conquista, NOM 1577, it has the kosher certification. The fermentation has to be enclosed. And we utilize wild agave yeast and spring water, the same. Not the same water, but similar spring water, because the two of them run under each distillery. And it is distilled once in stainless steel with a copper alembic. The second distillation is going to be with a copper alembic. And so just a little bit different than Prolijo, but for us is something that I love. That I love to see these things. And I was talking with like an old timer in Mexico, and he tried Tierra, and he said to me, and it's his palate, not mine. He goes, "This is how tequila this is the type of tequila that I drank when I was young." The guy is probably like in his 80s now. I don't know. He probably, but for us, it's something that we really go to the deepest, and because it is an honor for me to be able to do this, and it's also a business. But you see me, I'm on the table every event. I'm on the table. I don't like to use the word education. I think that we're just like sharing our process, our methods, our missions and our goals and what we're trying to achieve. And hopefully the consumer tastes it, likes it, and continues to enjoy it. But it is a privilege for me to be able to be in the world of mezcal and the world of tequila. And when I say that what I said about tequila, it's not because I'm knocking down tequila. It just came down to my personal preferences when I was younger. And if I tell you the type of tequila that I like, probably you're going to laugh. Which I'm going to pass on that one. I share which one it was, but
we can talk offline with that one.
Yes. and look, this is the other way how we drink in Mexico. It really wasn't based on flavor. The way that we drink tequila in Mexico was based on what my dad drank, what my uncle drank, what my father drank. That's really how we drink in Mexico. Perhaps not for the most part, but that's how I grew up. Oh, this is what my dad used to drink, my grandpa, and so on. And, because again, I think, to your point, I think that the way that tequila is changing, because it's not just our brand, man. There is a lot of other brands that are doing amazing job. So many brands that are changing. We're breaking the box, and that is a good thing. And we have, I consider leaders in the industry that have changed. We're the first one, the second ones, the third ones, and they really paved the path for us to be here. Just as well as some other individuals opened the path or created the path for the world of mezcal. I'm just very fortunate and humbled, really, to be able to be here. But at the same time, I have to have my own point of view, because we're creating a brand and we're managing the brands and yeah. I know I get passionate. I told you that I was shy to talk.
It's quite all right. Now, more of an off-the-wall question for you, and kind of what I want to know is, if your brands, both Prolijo and Tierra, if they were weapons, what would they be?
Oh, shit. Oh, that's a good question. That's a good question. You're really putting me on the spot because I never thought of them as that. But I would probably say it will be a bazooka.
For
really,
both, or
I think the Prolijo is more like a bazooka. And because I don't know about the tequila. I think the tequilas will be more of a. I don't even know how to make the association on that, Matt. I know Prolijo is more of a bazooka. Perhaps Tierra in it will be more of a. See, I get into a contradiction because I talk about curiosity. So it couldn't be like precise, right? Because when you're in curiosity, you're not like, I'm going to hit that target. So maybe like a radar.
Okay. See, now for Tierra, like I was thinking more of a 50 cal because no matter where you're at, you're going to obliterate your target. You can literally be about a foot off and you're still going to mess your target up.
Yeah. How would I say this? We did it. We knew what we wanted to do. But through, I don't know if you've seen the list that goes around. They have like the 120 most recommended tequilas.
Mm-hmm.
I know that it started with like a group of guys or a person that started that. And when I saw Tierra in there, I didn't know the meaning, to be quite frank with you. And, these are individuals that travel to Mexico all the time. They're not just going down there to sip on tequila. They're really going down there to learn, to understand. And when they put us in their Tierra, and it happened probably 4 or 5 months in, and it was beautiful to see that. And there is a lot of people that love Tierra. I can tell you whatever I want of Tierra, but there we go. You love it, and Lou loves it, and a lot of people. And
well, actually, in talking about Lou, he just did a giveaway with a bottle, and I actually won his.
You did?
Yes, I did.
No kidding! Oh wow! So you got that beauty.
I did. Well, I will.
In my view, and we all tend to talk very highly about our product, but I was very nervous when we started working on it. When it came out, I'm like, it doesn't taste very mineral. It's more of the roasted agave. It doesn't has the burn of the high proof, and we didn't let it rest in Mexico. It went right into the bottles right away because I wanted to launch it here in Sabor en Cultura, Chicago. So when I opened it, I'm like, God, well, we didn't let it rest. So I'm like, son of a gun. But then a month later, we started opening the bottles again. Man, it changed tremendously. It changed tremendously. This is the best way to describe it from my view, and it's going to be very ignorant, but I like to eat. When I'm at the distilleries in Guadalajara and when they're roasting the agave, or they have the agave in the ground, you smell the sweetness of the agave plant, of the roasted agave. And when I'm in that moment, I always wish I had a spoon so I could eat what I'm smelling.
Listen, you're not the only one that feels that way, because I can tell you every time that I've been to a distillery in Mexico, I love the smell. And I've said this on other episodes as I home brewer, I
Yeah.
brewed my own beer for years. So smelling the wort on your own brew and then going to Mexico and going to distilleries and smelling not only the fermentation process, but also the distillation process and then the cooking process. Like it's just one of those things that it's, to me, one of the best sensing overloads that a person can experience.
Yeah, it is beautiful. And, it's quite romantic because you're really like getting to be one with your senses because you're touching, you're smelling, you're seeing, uh, you're tasting, everything, really. And I think it is a one of a kind experience. That's what you taste with this bottle. You taste the roasted agave, and it is quite interesting, quite interesting. Um, but yeah, it's and we shifted, and we only made 720 bottles. We didn't make many. Uh, Being a new brand, high proof, we wanted to make sure that we, do a little, be gentle about it. Honestly, I'm honest about this one. See how the market is going to react about it. Because it's I think it's in the market at $89.99 a bottle. With
Which is a great price.
it is a great price, and the reason why our products have really great price. And I've heard from different liquor stores, how come your products are not more expensive? It's like some people may think that they're cheap, and I'm like, well, I can increase my price, but here is the reason why our prices are where they're at. We don't work with brokers. So it's basically us bringing it into United States. We market, we have the relationship with the distributors, and it's basically goes from us to the distributor to the liquor store or bar. But we don't work with brokers. Because we feel, since me and my business partners, we live here in the United States, who can tell the story? And we do this thing full time. So nobody's going to tell our story and the passion and what we do better than us. But that's the reason why our prices are affordable, because if you add another 30% from the broker fee onto the bottle, then, it will be like $105 or $110 bottle of tequila. We want to make sure that it is affordable at the same time.
So now, talking about the industry, this is going to be, I'll say, a controversial type question, but who in the
Shoot.
spirits industry do you think talks big but doesn't have the scars to prove it?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I keep, and look, I don't have hate for the big corporations. I really don't. If I had the money, probably the table will be different, right? So I'm I really cannot judge them on that, but I really think it's going to be big corporations, and I tell you why. When I hear big brands especially in the mezcal world. With confidence, people are like, this is how a Tobalá tastes and smells, period. And I'm always thinking that, but that's not period. It's not the way it works. The difference between them and I is that financially, they can place tomorrow that brand in all of the major liquor stores around the country, and within the most iconic bars and restaurants. I don't have that influence. That's a reason why most of us, you don't see us with like a big distributor. We work with like a medium-sized distributor, and sometimes even with the smaller distributors. And it's just, and so that's, to me, somebody who's like, well, I know that nobody's going to drink Prolijo or going to have access to Prolijo and this restaurant, so I get to tell my whatever story I want to tell. And I think that that's one of the ones that you're right, they don't have the scarves, and again, it is not to their, it's not because they don't want to, it's just the world that it is. And it's not fair or unfair, it's just is. We got to keep, and that's something that I tell everybody. They may have a lot more money than me, but they cannot outwork me. They may have 100 people, but they cannot outwork me. I'm hustling all the time. It's like, it's like managing, well, not managing, but working with distributors, uh, working on different programs, managing the team that we have here in the United States, which is quite small. And I'm also presenting in all the beanies. uh, I just went last week to a bar who's a group. They have 5 restaurants. I went to have lunch. I asked the bartender, who's the beverage director, gave me the phone number, went and talked to him, went last night again, and we got the 5 restaurants. And so they're Tierra, Libertad, Prolijo Tequila, Prolijo Mezcal are going to be part of the house tequila and mezcal for the 5 restaurants. And they're going to have all of our mezcals in the back of the bar, as well as the 750 high proof tequila. But we're always hustling. We're always doing things. We're talking to the guys in Mexico. We're bringing more tequila, more mezcal. But that's why I need more time to do some exercise and lose some of the chunkiness. But hey, this also takes hard work to make.
Right?
My double chin.
So we've talked a little bit about success here in just your last answer, but what is one failure that you've endured and it nearly broke you? And during that process, how did you come out of that?
Oh, it was very close, not too far ago, not too long ago. 3 years ago, just as in the cusp of the end of COVID, distributors are going out of business. So the one in Colorado went out of business, owe me a lot of money. The one in Florida went out of business, not owe me and my business partner money. In Texas, the guy went out of business, owe us money. Here in Illinois, because we grew, because we used to have only Agave Espadín, and we created all the wild agaves, and they were having trouble, so they had to downsize. They told me, it's like, listen, we cannot carry anymore because we don't have a lot of cash flow, and so your products are not cheap, right? Like a vodka will be. And so I lost a lot of distribution, and we only have one state left, too. I control state Michigan and Washington State. And I talked to my business partner and I said, listen, her name is Katie Rachel, my business partner. We known each other for so long. We became really good friends. And and I said to her, I said, listen, we sort of like need to fold this thing because we just lost a lot of money. And 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 quite frankly, we use our 401ks and savings and so on to create this endeavor. And she goes, are you sure? You know, life is hard, so on, so on. And I'm like, well, let me think about it. I kid you not. I don't know if you heard of this group of dudes. They get up early in the morning. It's called F3, and a bunch of crazy ex-military guys that do exercise and so on. So when when I'm not so tired, I get up in the morning and I'll go and work out. But I remember at that time, I just got up like around 3 in the morning, and I went out and I will just go for a walk by myself to clear my mind and to think about um, life and the future. And here I am thinking I'm gonna have 2 kids in college. Like, do do I really wanna, like, what's going on? And it was pretty hard. It was pretty hard because the money is already in. You're hoping, oh, I'll just take it back. But the money was gone, in and gone. And so I just say to myself, and I remember I recall the saying that my grandma said to me, remember where you come from to know where you're going. And I come from a land of warriors. I come of a land that we it's all about selling. So that's the land that I come from, right? And so, which is the Aztecs, the Purépechas, the Otomís, you name it. And so I said, I had a full-time job. And so what I did, I quit my job and I burned the boats. And I said, it's a now or never. Not only we went from 2 estates, because we used to have 9 estates, but we went down to 2 estates, and then we went from 2 to 22 estates. We created Tierra Libertad. Is becoming what it's becoming. It didn't become. People made it because people loved it or like it, and we're just grateful that we have a product that people enjoy. But I'm not gonna say, "Oh, we make it. We made it." No, we didn't make anything. We That's one of the things that brands don't get. We don't make the brand. People do. The consumer makes the brand. If the product is good, then it is good, and that's that. But going back to the story, we also added Prolijo tequila. We added more bottles to the line of Mezcal. We're going to get into 6 more states by the beginning of next year. We just got into Connecticut, Arizona. I'm still working in Nevada, which really is just Vegas. But we're still working hard. And I think what I learned outside of the tequila world is that this is truly a passion. And so when people ask me, what would you tell somebody out there that is trying to start something like this, whether it's in a spirit or a business or whatever? I always tell them, I said, make sure that what you're starting is not a business. you're starting a passion. Because I guarantee you, and this is with all honesty, and somebody may disagree with me, but there are going to be more bad days than good days. And that's why those good days taste like heaven. Never been to heaven, but I'm sure that I can tell what it will taste like.
100%. We've been kind of all over with process. We've been here and there. And I kind of feel like I know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. What's the wildest experiment that you've dreamed of, but it hasn't been released yet?
Boy, honestly, I love to do dude, I don't know, because I've been thinking a lot about it, and a lot of these things are already in progress. But I can tell you that the wildest experiment, I don't know. That's a tough one, man. I really don't know. I mean, you see, we started with the blancos for the most part. There are some projects coming pretty soon. But if I have to say, I love to make a mezcal out of the tequila, 100% true and true. And I would like to take that and see how we can do something that is not tequila, but it's actually a mezcal out of a blue Weber agave. I think that will be kind of cool and interesting. I don't know what it will taste like. But here is the interesting portion of it, Matt. When it comes to techniques, there is not one thing that I can say. If you make this tequiliana sort of like mezcal, like it's gonna taste like this. There are 32 states in Mexico. There were 9 states that produce tequila. Sinaloa just became the number 10. Yes. Which my business partner happens to have the second distillery in Sinaloa to produce mezcal. And each state has a different technique, just because that's how they used to make it, and that's how they make it here. And I guess when I'm going with this thing, a lot of people ask me, when I hear, oh, I don't like this thing, I don't like that, because it doesn't taste like this, it doesn't taste like, say, tequila or espadín and so on. I will always like to say, but I don't say it because they're not asking me the question, but I would like to say, it's not so much about what you're drinking, it's about the technique utilized to create that distill. And I think that is very important to understand, because this is not just like agave distill and that's that, and my nom is X and then 40 is good. But I think it's about learning more about the process and, getting out of your comfort zone and and exploring beyond that, right? And really seeing what's possible and not possible. I know that I'm perhaps not answering your question, because it's quite complex, to be quite frank with you. Because
Fair enough.
How do you create something like, I don't know, like I'm going to tell you what I tell somebody, like I don't think much about what that is, but if I think about it, and usually like comes like really quick, I jump into it. Like I have so many bottles here in my house, your house, of different products, and I'm always tasting stuff, and I'm like, this is. Let me put it to you this way: I wouldn't put in the market something that I don't like. I just wouldn't. And I can tell you that I'm not even going to say it because I don't want to bite my tongue down the line.
You're free to say whatever you want here.
I know I do, but people listen, the wolves listen, but no, I think, look, I do believe that in this world, in this the world of agave, it is very beautiful, and I'm gonna tell you why and by the way, the world of mezcal and the world of tequila is a different world here in the United States. Completely different world. I find the world of tequila more amicable, more friendly. I had met, do you know how I met Lou? Through Agave Men. And I saw Agave Men posting a week before the event in California. And I say, hey, brother, who's running that place? I like to go down there. And he's like, let me make a phone call. I met Lou, and Lou goes like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know you. I need to taste your stuff, so on. Sending some samples. And then from there, I remember that I had such a great experience because in other events, you want to just be pouring and pouring and pouring. In Sabor y Cultura, people were like, no. I don't want more. But what I would like is I want you to tell me the process, where the agave comes from. And it blew my mind. It's almost like, you go and behave one way, like you want to just get along with everybody, and also like puts their hand in front of you. It's like, okay, stop. And you're like shocked because it's not the world that I come from, right? And I met Lou. Lou and I were really good friends. Roger, his wife, they've been here in my house. Agave Man, taste with bread, so many friends that I met. And when I can tell you is they're really good people. And I'm not saying that mezcal, they're not good people. It's just a different world. And I think that the world of tequila is more accepting. And I love that. I love that because mainly because you guys go down there all the time to Guadalajara, and and you guys have tasted a lot and shared thoughts and ideas, and I think that is beautiful. And so to me, the world of tequila is super friendly, and again, I'm very fortunate that look at me. I'm right here talking with you tonight. You could be having dinner, spending time with friends and family, and you're here talking with me, listening.
I feel like I'm the fortunate one here.
Oh, you're just listening to my mumbling.
So I'm going to ask you a few quick rapid fire questions.
Shoot.
Is Prolijo more bullet, or would you say it's more of a battle hymn?
The second one, battle hymn.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Would you rather drink mezcal that's too wild or tequila that's too clean?
Mezcal that is too wild.
What's the biggest lie being sold to consumers about agave spirits?
This is how mezcal or tequila is. I think that there is a little, this goes back to what I was saying, is that when you have reach, when you have influence, and when you know that nobody's, like in a smaller brand that does the things right, is going to come and pull down your pants. You're free to say whatever you want. I mean, nobody's gonna call me on it. So I can say, well, my tovala is really how all tovalas are supposed to be made and taste and so on. And it's not. And it really is not. I had amazing conversation with Salvador from Salvador Mezcal, right? And all the people that produce Mezcal. And, he's like, try my pechugas. And I'm like, well, you try my pechuga. And I'll try this and that. And he's like, oh, it's so great. And I think that, we're always talking about how the plant was gracious enough to allow us to taste different flavors, different aromas, and so on. But I think that that's the biggest misconception of the bigger brands, to say this is the way it is when it is not that.
So now, if someone disrespects tradition, do you educate them or do you burn the bridge?
I think I've been there so many times, and I learned to respect the freedom of speech. Yeah, because who am I to ruin somebody's day, and vice versa, right? Because I take here is my wife is a beautiful human being, and she told me one thing. First of all, I have ADHD, right? So I'm always like, there are no breaks. There is no in between my mouth and whatever it comes out of it. But she told me this: if you don't have something nice to say, just don't say it.
It's the golden rule.
It's a golden rule because I can tell you this. The world of mezcal has been out there for thousands of years. What I know, somebody may say he knows. Some other person like, oh, he doesn't know much. But depending the perspective, where it comes from, right? I can tell you that Victoria, I'm just like whispering, things that she says. This world is not a world. It's a cultural phenomenon that has been out there for thousands of years. And by the way, it was spoken in a different language that I don't know how to speak, which is the Zapotec, the Mixtec, the Otomi, and I don't know how to speak those languages. I can Persian Otomi, but again, it's just by sound what I will repeat, but it is vast, and so that's when I'm going back about the respect for the culture, not because yes, I do love what I'm doing, but it's also respectful about things and I want to be very careful about what I say because I just don't want to mess it up too.
Listen, I completely understand that, and that's the way that I feel about me and Spanish. We have our love-hate relationship with Spanish, and I'm learning because at the end of the day, like, one, it's a beautiful language, and two, like, I just want to be able to communicate, wherever I go in Mexico, or even if I go to Spain, it's very similar. Not necessarily in dialect, but there's similarities to Spain Spanish and Mexico Spanish.
Cooler in Mexico City, just so you know. we're the mezcal down there in Mexico City.
and one day I'm gonna make it to Mexico City. Hopefully maybe later next year. That'll be in the works, so we'll see.
Let me know. I can point you in the right direction to go down there and visit different places. It's beautiful. It is. It is like a big city, right? It's beautiful. It has like everything, but It is beautiful. So yeah, let me know, and maybe we'll go together.
Would love that. So last rapid fire question: legacy or rebellion? Which one defines you more today?
I think it's a rebellion. It's a rebellion. Rebellion to do what I think is right, not what somebody tells me this is right, because their right could be my left, and vice versa. So I think it's the rebellion of things of saying we're doing this and that's pretty much it. Well, everybody else does it that way. Let them do that. I'm gonna do it different.
Now, where can everybody find you on social media?
That's the best part of it. So you can go into drinktyl.com. That is the website, or drink Tierra and Libertad. For the longest time, social media didn't allow us to put Tierra and Libertad because they thought that we were breaking the rules, that we were like fanatics. And I'm like, it's just tequila. Also, you can find us in Prolijo Mezcal on social media. Also, the website for Prolijo Tequila is Drink Prolijo, and the website, drinkprolijo.com, and Prolijo Tequila on social media. So we are on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and many more. We're not on X. We should, but we're not. But that is a beautiful thing. And one thing that I didn't get to mention is that the agave for Tierra Libertad comes from the Central Valley of Jalisco, and the agave for Prolijo Tequila comes from Nayarit, from Santa Maria del Oro. Follow us on Instagram and social media, you name it. But really, we utilize our websites more of a medium of a library, if you will, because we want to tell you everything. Our process for Tierra Libertad, Prolijo Tequila, Prolijo Mezcal, the whole process, who produced it, who grew the agave, everything is on the label. We don't hide anything. And we do that because, and excuse my colloquialism, we do give a damn about what you put in your body. Because I'm drinking it. I drink it all the time. My wife drinks it. I hope that my kids get to drink it. You're drinking it. So I just never understood anything beyond that. But we want to make sure that people know that we are an honest brand. Simple.
And I can tell you from this interview, people will understand that a whole lot more, is that, both brands are forthcoming, they're transparent, and, like you said, just getting out there.
Yeah. We are getting out there. We're finding a lot of love. Um, what I'm loving right now, basically for doing the Saboring Culturas events, the reach that event has is big. And I gotta tell you, Matt, it is so beautiful when I go to Instagram or Facebook, and I get messages from liquor stores and restaurants. We want to carry your brand. We've seen it on social media, so on, so on. Or I tasted in this event or that event, and that just filled me of joy, because when we first started talking about the Resilient, it's like, I never seen your brand anywhere. And I'm like, please just buy a bottle. And but now, that doesn't allow us to like be to just lay in the couch and wait for that. We're always hustling. We're always looking for different ways to promote the brand or to tell the story. And we're working hard, and we're very fortunate to have people, individuals like you, They want to hear a story. They want to record us. For me, this is an honor. This is an honor. And you wouldn't believe like how much I appreciate this, allowing me to tell my story, quirky in times, mumbling in times, but at the end of the day, I just happen to be a human and I'm not perfect. Yeah.
They're at such a great price point that are so affordable to consumers. And of course, some are considered unicorns and brands such as yourself that it's like, wow, these are amazing. I love this brand, the Tierra, and I love Prolijo. I don't have very many mezcals on my list, but it's in my top 5 of mezcals.
Thank you. And I wish I could tell you I make them. It's beautiful people that allow me to share the love at the same time, because it's again, I mean, I never told you this thing, but I don't know if you knew this, but the way the mezcal was created, it wasn't for alcoholic consumption. It was for medicinal purposes and religious purposes. So the high priest will do the ritual, and throughout the ritual, it'll be like sipping on mezcal and so on. And they'd be like, okay, it's time to go and harvest corn. The corn is ready. Or it was, let's go to the river and let's go and get, it's going to be a lot of fish over there. So they will just get into this trance. And when I tell these people, are like, oh my God, like they must have been like really high. I'm like, well, yes and no. Just remember that for a few years, we ran on the Mayan calendar, right? Like, so there has to be something correlated to that. And the second one was medicinal purposes. So, for example, it's a digestive. So if you ever have a headache, now don't quote me on this, because then the FDA is going to come and say like, you need to pay me my tax. They say in Mexico, if you have a headache, that you should drink some mezcal because it takes the headache away. This is what I do know. Mezcal and agave, unfiltrated tequilas, that it hasn't gone through the charcoal or through diffusers and so on, they are high in minerality. And they are high also in antioxidants. And it's just so beautiful. I mean, think about it, like the leaves are used for shampoo, for teas, for mascaras, creams, and that's the stuff that we dispose. But we utilize the actual heart of it. Can you imagine how much great stuff is in there? That's why the other day I told somebody, like, I had half a bottle of Tobala and I woke up in the morning and I was fine. And they're like, you didn't have a headache? I'm like, no, I didn't have a headache. Because it's clean stuff, and I think that's what I'm hoping that, because we do other things, right? Like we also have a little company that it helps educate people that want to start their own brands, and we educate them and we tell them like, look, there is 100% agave, there is a mixto tequila, and in the world, even in the world of the mixto or 100% agave, there is also the additive. So it doesn't matter if it is a mixed or 100%, but if it has additives, it still is not good. So it's a lot to it. And we're always educating them into, just because it doesn't have additives, it doesn't have the right of passage. But who has the right of passage? It's really the consumer. You wouldn't believe how many times people tell me this brand is my jam, and I'm like, good for you. And in my mind, like, I know it. I know the brand. I know the product. I cannot take that one. But who am I to
try something better?
Right. That's exactly it. And drinking. And it's because it's all about sipping. It's all about enjoying the plant, the agave, allowing the plant to tell you the story, to really be gentle about it, and to be grateful to Mother Nature, to say, thank you so much for allowing me to drink this, what Spaniards will call this elixir. And you know how they said that they didn't say that the indigenous got drunk. They said that they were hallucinating.
I mean, I can see where they would, say that. In people's intoxication levels, it varies for sure.
It does, and it's just interesting how the world of tequila has changed. I was talking to a friend of mine in Guadalajara, and he was saying, the wood is not old, resting and aging. He's like, it doesn't have more than 30 years that we started resting and aging tequila. I'm like, I didn't know that. I'm like, I thought that it had like a 50, 60 years. He's like, no, that's new, that we do aging and reposados. And now, of course, you have your Cristalino.
Worst thing ever, in my opinion. Anyway, Juan, I do appreciate your time, and I thank you for being on the show. Everyone, thank you for tuning in, and have a good night.
Good night, Matt.